Flosstube. It's Kate here of Colorblind Cross Stitch. Today is May 19th. Neko has decided to join me. I think he thinks that, once I sit down, that means that I'm now the furniture, and, he needs to stand on me. So, here he is. Today is Friday. Usually I film on Saturdays, but this weekend is May long weekend. It's Queen Victoria Day on Monday. Sorry, I've had a bit of a cold, so if I'm coughing a bit, that's why. So it's a holiday in Canada. I guess May 24th is was Queen Victoria's birthday. So the May long weekend is always the weekend before the 24th, which is this weekend, and we're going up to my person's family has a cottage, so we're going up to the cottage. So I wouldn't be producing a video tomorrow because we will be up at the cottage. We were actually going to go today, but then Chris had an appointment, so we're going tomorrow. We're going to be there till Monday. I wouldn't get filming time in until Tuesday, Wednesday, and then it's almost the next week. But I didn't want to miss a week, so I figured maybe I have a little bit of time today because we're going a day later than expected, and maybe I'd sit down and film a quick update before I leave, and it's going to be a really quick update because all I have to show you is my progress on my Egyptian sampler, and really that's it. I did buy myself some stuff because it was my birthday on Wednesday, which maybe I'll talk about, but it hasn't arrived yet because I bought it yesterday, and the mail is not that fast. That would be amazing, but the mail is not that fast. But yes, so this is, once again, this has kind of been my mania, has been to work on this piece. This is Teresa Wensler's Egyptian sampler. This is what it will look like when it's done. You probably all know what it looks like by now if you've been watching my videos for more than a couple of weeks, because that's what I've been working on for all of May. Last time I talked to you, I basically finished Osiris, so I've been working on Isis. I did not get as much finished this week because, although I suppose to be fair, Osiris took me 2 weeks, or took me more than a week, so I guess that's fair. I've only been working on Isis for a week. So I have some of her dress, her 2 arms, her arms are 1/1. Actually, what happened is, on this arm here, I put in the lightest color, and then I realized I was 1 over, so I had to take it all out and do it again. And frogging 1/1 skin is the worst. It's it's tiny, and I can't get the seam ripper under the stitches, so I kind of did tried to lift them with my needle, and then kind of tried to pull them, and so a couple times I think I actually ripped part of the fabric. So that meant that when I put the stitches back in, they're definitely in a couple places, I can even feel there's a lump there. Maybe I can only feel one of the lumps. I know there were 2 lumps. Maybe the other one isn't too bad now. There are lumps in my stitches because I didn't want to pull too tight in the places where I had evidently caught some of the underlying fabric. Luckily I didn't actually rip out, cut a hole, a whole strand of the Lugana, but there were definitely some that were like thinner, and so I was like, okay, I don't want to pull too hard, but then my stitches came out lumpy, so Isis's second arm is kind of ugly because I had to rip it out and do it again, and ripping out tiny skin is the worst. So that took me, because like it took me like a day or more, a couple days I think, to put in that originally. Now maybe it was like a day to put it in originally, and I was really happy because I'd gotten so much done on this arm, and then I had to rip it out, and that took like 2 days, because I swear it takes longer to rip the stitches out than it does to put them in when they're this small. You know, and then I had to do it all again, which was like another day. And then I think another day to put in the rest of the arm. The other thing is, the arms, for whatever reason, the highlight color and the normal skin color, if you will, are really, really close together. Like, I can barely see that there is any difference. When there's large chunks of it, I can kind of see, like, oh yeah, that might be 2 different colors. But I really can't. Like, this is one of those I have to trust the designer days. And then the shadow color is really dark. So it really looks like there are dark blobs and light, like there's just like dark blobs. I'm really hoping, and I asked about this on like Stitch Mania, and other people who had done the pattern were like, yeah, that's what mine came out like, and once you put the back stitch in, it should look okay. So I'm really hoping that, as I said, once I put the back stitch in, the really dark color will sort of like blend in a little bit more with the back stitching, and also that the lumps and my ugly stitches will kind of like be less noticeable once I have the back stitching in. Because I don't know, like, the back stitch, oh. Okay, you can't see Osiris's face because my hoop's in the way, but Osiris's face was definitely improved by back stitching, and it was a lot less weird once I put the back stitching in, because there were a couple places where it's like, wow, that's like a really big contrast, but I don't even think any of his sort of greens were this much contrast. But if you look on the color card, there really isn't a color between, like, in this color family, there really isn't a color between that normal color and the highlight color that's kind of like halfway between those two. For whatever reason, it kind of goes from light to dark with no in-between color. So that is what it is. So I'm hoping that once I've gotten, you know, the rest of her filled out, she'll look normal. And yet the other rest of what I've been doing is I did some of her dress. So, and that is, I gotta say, that's the other thing. After doing 1/1 skin, doing like the 2/2 stitches seems so much easier. I mean, they're still not as easy as Ida, but they're easier. And then which is nice. And I can, like, her face and her feet are 1/1. But I'm gonna do her whole dress first before I have to worry about them. So I'm kind of excited to be like, no more 1/1 skin for a while. Because that's a pain to complete. And so yeah, literally that's all I worked on this week. Not as much progress as I might like, because I had to frog a chunk. And also there was like one day where I didn't have any stitching time, I was busy. And I've also been kind of sick, I have a bit of a cold, so that's, you know, that makes things less fun. I don't know if it's really cut into my stitching time so much as it's just like, everything is slightly more miserable because I'm slightly sick. So yeah, that's what I did this week. That's really all I have to show you until things come in the mail. I'm still waiting for like the rest of my mail from China, which is taking weeks and weeks and weeks, because that's what happens when you order things from China. And I'm still waiting for my needles to come from the US, but they're going normal post, so they're probably not going to show up for at least another week. But who knows, maybe on Tuesday I'll have like packages, and that would be exciting. There's no mail on Monday because it's a bank holiday.
but maybe on Tuesday there will be packages, and that'd be exciting. The other thing I did is so last week I showed you I bought a bunch of cool stuff at Ottawa Comic Con because they have a whole bunch of artists, and we got smart this time and started with the local artists instead of the big, like the dealer's room. So we bought all sorts of cool things, which I haven't hung up yet because I have to find wall space. But the other amazing thing about that is I got home and looked in my mail, and there was a birthday card from my person's parents, which had some money in it, which basically paid for all the things I bought at Comic-Con. So it was like I got myself a birthday present from my person's parents because they're kind of amazing like that. And that meant that I actually had some more budget to spend on other things because I had gotten some money to pay for that had paid for my Comic-Con things. So that was cool. But yeah, so then I was like, oh, but I have a little bit more money this month, and it is still my birthday, and I've been meaning to order from like 123 Stitch or something because I need a couple more things for my Egyptian sampler. I need one color of DMC, I need the metallics and the beads. So I was like, I should do that and order them, and maybe order something else as well to like sort of make the shipping reasonable. So I did, but in the end I actually didn't order from 123 Stitch. I ended up ordering from Stitch It Central, which is actually Canadian, which is nice, and it's in my province. So I'm hoping that will mean that like things will arrive speedily. Oh, hello again, Neko. Neko left. He has come back. Yes, right, because I was like looking at Stitch It Central, which is here in Canada. It's in Ingersoll, I believe, which is in southern Ontario, so I don't know how many hours drive that is away, but it's actually not. It is actually like not too far. I mean, relatively, compared to like the size of Canada. So I was like, okay, well maybe I'll look at those prices, and because they're in Canadian dollars instead of US dollars and don't have to deal with the exchange rate, and the shipping is better. And so I looked, and there were a couple of things like the Mill Hill beads were a little bit more expensive on Stitch It Central than they were on 123 Stitch, but the DMC floss was the same. The Krynic and actually Petite Treasure Braid were about the same. I think the Krynic might have been like a few cents cheaper on 123 Stitch, but the Petite Treasure Braid was a few cents cheaper on Stitch It Central, sort of like once you take into account the exchange rate. And I actually discovered that I'm actually getting, rather than getting Krynic, I ordered myself a card of Petite Treasure Braid instead because they're the same price, but Petite Treasure Braid has twice as much braid on the card. So I found like a Krynic to Petite Treasure Braid conversion, and so I'm going to buy the Petite Treasure Braid because I get twice as much, and then when I need gold for other things, I have gold, because I'm not going to use the whole card by any means, because I think it's really just like there's the rays of the sun. I mentioned I was thinking about like putting some of the like metallic in with other parts of the chart. In the end, I'm not doing that because a lot of the golds are actually blends. So there are already two threads of different colors, and I wasn't sure what like adding a third color in, Krynic or Petite Treasure Braid in this case, like that would just make the stitches really bulky, and I couldn't really take out a color because they're already, like I couldn't just take out a thread because they're already a blend of two colors, and it's 2/2, so it, two threads. If they were one thread, I could do like a thread of gold floss and then a thread of gold metallic and make things a little bit blingy, and that would be cool. But they're half the gold at least seems to be a blend, so that doesn't work
with blends. And I don't want to do everything in like straight gold because then I'll lose the shading. Because that's one of the things about my Egyptian sampler. It has lots of shading in it, which is going to look, I mean, it's a bit of a pain to stitch because I'm jumping all over the place with, like Osiris's mummy wrappings were 3 different colors, and like Isis's dress is 3 different colors, and their faces are sort of like 3 or 4 different colors, and skin. And so it's a little bit of a pain because I'm doing relatively small areas in like 3 different colors, so I have to jump a lot, which slows things down. But when it's done, like, the shading is kind of amazing. Like, I look at it and I'm like, how is there like Osiris has like legs, and when I was stitching it, I'm like, I wasn't stitching your legs as different. And then I like look back and it's like, yeah, there's like the outline of your legs kind of thing. And then it's like Isis, I was doing like the top of her dress, and there's like, you know, you step back a bit and it's like, oh yeah, there's the outlines of your, you know, your bosom, which I wasn't really like, you know, stitching and going, yep, I'm stitched in a boob. but like if you look at her, you know, she does kind of have a little bit of a, there's a little bit of like like in the shading, there's a little bit of a boob bulge, because, you know, she's a lady, she's got some boobs. She actually, there's tomb paintings and like temple wall like inscriptions of her breastfeeding baby Horus. So, you know, she needs boobs. That's what I'm saying. So it makes sense. And I'm just like, it's just the shading is kind of amazing. Like, I've done a couple like patterns myself, like tried to make things up. I have nowhere near this skill in getting like essentially like shaded pixel art. But yeah, so the thing is with the gold is there's blended gold, which is in Osiris's hat, but once again you can't see it because he's covered by the hoop. So I did that. I got the beads and the Mill Hill beads, and then Petite Treasure braid because it's basically twice as much for the same price as the Kreinik, and everything I've heard is apparently that Petite Treasure braid is actually, Kreinik is easier to work with than the DMC, and then Petite Treasure braid is easier to work with than Kreinik. So if there's twice as much for the same price and it's easier to work with, that would be amazing. I haven't tried the Kreinik, so I don't know, and maybe eventually I'll like order a spool of Kreinik or something and, you know, try things out. And one of those things where like if I had like a local needlework store where I could buy Kreinik and not have to worry about shipping, you know, or Petite Treasure braid and not worry about shipping, like that would change my decision as well. But I have to basically buy them online, so I'm gonna buy the one that gives me, you know, twice as much for the same price. So then I was like, well, okay, I've got the things for my Egyptian sampler. They're like 3 or 4 things I need to finish it off, and I was like, well, maybe I should kit something else while I'm going to be spending, you know, between $7 and $10 on shipping anyway. Let's make that, you know, I don't want to spend like more dollars in shipping than I am going to spend on the material I'm buying, which is essentially what would happen if I just bought the things I needed for the Egyptian sampler. So I mentioned a couple videos ago, 2 or 3 videos ago, that I'd been looking at doing Save the Stitches from Elizabeth Almond, I think it is, at Blackwork Journey. It's a free pattern, it's amazing, but it's like a meter, not a meter, it's a yard by like half a yard or something. You know, so whatever that would be. A meter by half a meter is actually about the same. There's like 10 centimeters and 5 centimeters difference between a meter and a yard. Or, sorry, there's 10 centimeters difference between a meter and a yard, so, you know. But, so yeah, so I was looking at that for a while, and but like, to buy like a big, like yard, half a yard piece of fabric, what would that be, a fat half? I always think it's funny that they're in fat quarters and fat halves and fat eighths instead of like thin quarters and thin halves and or like normal quarters and normal halves. I guess because like a quarter would be what, 18 by 18 inches? That's a quarter yard. But, you know, like a quarter of a yard long piece of fabric. But I guess a fat quarter is like 18 by 20 or 18 by 21 or something, so it's like a quarter plus a little bit. I guess kind of like a baker's dozen is 13 instead of 12. Because it's like a dozen and then one extra. Kind of deal. But it's kind of funny because I'm not used to thinking... I mean, I'm not used to thinking in yards, for one thing. And then I have to think in, like, yards plus extra. Like, inches plus extra. I can do inches as well as centimeters. Weirdly, like, yards instead of meters, not so much, but inches instead of centimeters, yeah, I'm good. And also to get 25 count fabric, because it calls for a 25 count Lugana, which is relatively uncommon. Like, you can get on, like, you can get it online, no problem, but it seems to be, for example, like, Michaels does not carry any 25 count fabric. And all I have is a Michaels, kind of thing, and so I would have to order it online, and it seems to be relatively, like, there seems to be less selection in 25 count fabrics than there are in 28 count or in Ida. So then I was looking, well, maybe I can do something a bit smaller, because I was also like, Save the Stitches is huge. It's going to cost me in fabric and thread to, like, kit it up. It's going to cost me a chunk, because I have to buy a really big piece of fabric, and then I need to buy either, like, balls of pearl cotton, which 123 Stitch doesn't even sell, the 12 weight pearl cotton, or, like, a spool of sulky, which would be like $10, or, you know, I was looking at, like, hanks of silk, mostly because, like, they just look amazing, and, like, I just want to pet it. But I have never used silk before, so I'm not buying a hank of silk if I've never used silk before, because that has a real potential for disaster. But yeah, so I was like, yeah, okay, that would cost a lot to kit up, really. And I don't know if I would ever get it done, because it's a huge piece. And it would take me years. So then I looked at, like, her other pieces. Blackwork Journey, actually, there's a whole section of, like, sort of freebie stitches, which she does sort of like stitch along sort of things, but they're all free, so it's really quite amazing. And Save the Stitches is one of the bigger ones. It's, I think, 24 parts. So then I was thinking, I'll do a smaller one, and there's Pandora's Box. Pandora's Box is 8 parts. 9 if you include the border. Call the border its own part. And there's got some black work, but then it's got, like, some pulled thread work, and it's got some cross stitch, and it's got a CC, I think, which is kind of like backwards cross stitch. Or, like, negative cross stitch. It uses negative space. So you cross stitch the background instead of the picture. And then I think it has a couple other ones. And it has an even weave version, but it also has an Ida version. And I'm definitely more of an Ida stitcher because I can see it better. And I'm doing this on even weave, I'm doing the Egyptian sampler on even weave, and that's okay. But for the most part, my preference is still to do it on Ida because I can see it better, you know, even when I'm not trying to do, like, 1/1 ridiculous skin. It's just, you know, the squares are, like, 4 times as big, essentially. So it's like, okay, it's a whole lot smaller, because it's a quarter, I think. No, I think it's not an eighth. I think it's a quarter yard, because it's like a 16 by 16 square, or like 18 by 18 square. And it does a whole bunch of different squares of, you know, 8 parts, different stitches. I'm like, okay, that's cool. It's smaller. I can still practice black work. That'll be great. So I was like, okay, let's get, like, some metallics and threads and things for that one. And then I was also looking, and there's, on the same website, Box of Delights. I should see if I can find sort of, like, finished pictures of these two. I'll insert them because they're both really pretty. So, and Box of Delights is a black work pattern. It's entirely black work, but it's, I think, 6 parts. I think it's like, yeah, 6 parts of like 6 little squares each, and then a 7th part to do like the border. And each little square is like an inch and a half. So it's also like an 18 by 18 quarter yard sort of piece of fabric. And you can do it in black on white fabric, in white on, you know, dark fabric, or she's also like, you could do it in like just multicolored. Pick random flosses, which would be fun because I have a big box of random flosses. But I was looking at that and realized I can kit up these 2 projects because I can use the same metallic and beads for both of them. I decided to do the Pandora's box in shades of blue, so I need to buy like 5 skeins of different blues from DMC because I didn't have them. And then a piece of fabric for that one. But then I'm like, and basically I can use the beads and metallic that I'm buying anyway for Pandora's box, for the Box of Delights. I can do the white version, or the version on dark fabric, with white thread because I have over a dozen skeins of white. I don't need to buy any white for a long time. Use the same beads and treasures, and then I just need a piece of fabric. So basically, for the price of, you know, a $10 piece of fabric, I can have kitted up 2 projects instead of 1 project. And they're both, you know, relatively small, so they're not as daunting. I mean, if I do both of them, I think that ends up being about you put the pieces of fabric together. They're almost the same size as Save the Stitches, but, you know, they're 2 smaller pieces. They're both sort of much more manageable, and they're the same sort of like little squares. And so, you know, you can sit down and like do a square kind of deal. Box of Delights is kind of based on like a chocolate box. So, you know, chocolate box, you have like bite-sized pieces of chocolate, so they're each sort of like bite-sized pieces of blackwork kind of deal. So I get to try my blackwork and do really pretty patterns, and not do something as daunting as Save the Stitches, and not spend as much money as it would have cost to kit up Save the Stitches. I think it probably does cost less because I needed to buy less thread. And then I bought fabric for those 2 because really the only fabric I can get here is white. I did find an antique white Lugana at Michael's for my Egyptian sampler, which was really lucky. And sometimes there's like white and off-white. Sometimes they might have one of the other sort of like off-whites, depending, but it's mostly just white. Everything's white. But yes, so I'm doing them all on Ida, and so I kitted up those 2 projects. I'm really excited about that. And then I also found a 3rd project, which was a kit, which I'm going to do as a gift. So, sorry, excuse me. So yes, I also found a 3rd project. It's a Dimensions kit, I think, and it was actually basically the best price was Stitch It Central, or like 1, 2, 3 Stitch. They're basically the same price, so I was like, okay, I'm gonna throw that in, and then it was like, the shipping was a little bit less expensive because then you don't have exchange rate. It was all in Canadian dollars, so then you don't have to worry about exchange rate. There was a little bit of tax, but it was actually only it's like $3, so it actually really wasn't that bad. And all being well, because it's shipping within the province, it should get here. And it was like 50 cents more for like expedited, like express post shipping. So I was like, yes, I will do that for like all of 50 cents. Usually it's like the difference between like regular shipping and like expedited shipping is like, it's gonna be twice as much. And then I'm just like, no, it can just take a long time. But like for 50 cents more to get here faster, I'm like, yes. And like have a tracking number and know where it is kind of thing. So yeah, so I'm hoping that will get here within the next couple of weeks and I can ooh and ah over my new fabric and show you all the pretties I get. Probably not going to start either of those Blackwork Journey patterns because I'm getting the kit that I want to be a gift. So I'm going to have to work on that one first. so that I can get it done. I'm kind of breaking my rules because I'm pretty sure at that point I will have more pieces than I have hoops, but I think my cats that I haven't even shown you because I haven't worked on them since March. Since the beginning of March, maybe even February, they're kind of being UFO'd because I haven't worked on them because I have so many cool things to do. So many cool things to do. So yeah, that's my progress and my shopping, because I'm really excited about all the things I'm gonna get. I think I'm pretty much not buying anything in June at all. Again, unless I find something that is also a gift, or will be a gift once I do it, because I kind of make an exception for that, because it's not like stitching for me, it's stitching for someone else. So I feel less bad about buying gifts. Or patterns that will become gifts. So, that's that. And then now I have to go and do my dishes and pack for my trip tomorrow. And decide what I'm going to bring with me, because I don't know what I'm going to bring with me. Hello again, Neko. I must be here for a long time, because Neko's like come to see me and left 3 times. I'm really loving my Egyptian sampler. I don't want to put it down, but that's one that even if I'm not doing skin, I really need pretty specific lighting, so as to, be able to see what I'm doing. So I don't know if I can bring that one with me. It also requires like twice as much as every other kit I have. It requires a big box as opposed to a little box or a bag. I want to keep working on this, and I like the idea of I've been kind of doing like a monogamous mania thing. Because I started it at the beginning, and then I was like, I'm going to try and work on this for all of Mania. Like, Mania is officially done, because it's the first half of May. And I even worked on it up to my birthday, which it was kind of like my birthday start, even though I then just went and spent a bunch of money on stitching because it's my birthday and I can use that. It's a wonderful excuse for so many things. It's like, I want this. It's my birthday. I'm gonna do it. That's I also ordered in Swiss Chalet for my birthday, because I never order anything in, because, then you have to pay. I mean, it's a lot more expensive than just, cooking food. But I was like, I don't feel like cooking, and I don't want to, and it's my birthday. I don't feel like cooking, and it's my birthday. I will spend, $20 or $25, whatever it costs, to order in. And actually it worked out, because I got two meals out of it instead of one, so then I felt less bad about the fact that my meal cost over $20. Yeah. It's my birthday is a wonderful excuse for so many things. It's no longer my birthday. My birthday was 2 days ago. I can no longer use that excuse. I have now bought stitchy things because it was my birthday, and bought Comic-Con things, pretty art things, because it's my birthday, and ordered in because it's my birthday, and now I have to stop because it is no longer my birthday. And I have definitely used up all of my budget for May, and probably all of my budget for June. So I just need to wait for the eBay things to arrive. I might need to buy more bobbins for a couple dollars, and then wait for them to come for a couple months. My last bobbins haven't arrived yet, and I think I'm going to need some more after this. So that's that. Yeah, so my plans are probably dragons, because I would love to continue working on my Egyptian sampler, but I don't think I can do that in the lighting at the cottage, because I can't control the lighting as easily as I can in my basement. I've got to be the only person who likes living in a basement, because I have one small window behind me, and the rest of the lighting I can make it as bright or as dim, usually very dim, as I want, and so I get the lighting that, you know, is best for me, which is usually too dim for other people because most people aren't nearly as light sensitive as I am. So I think I might do dragons. The more I think about it, the more I think I'm gonna have to do dragons. Although I hope everyone has a lovely week full of stitchy goodness, and that you do not get visited by the frog like I did, especially when stitching tiny stitches of tininess, because that was terrible. Don't let that happen, basically. And I'll see if I get this edited before I leave tomorrow. If not, you might not see this video until I get back, even though I'm recording it before I leave. And I will see you, I will see you next week. You will see me next week. I don't see you ever because I'm talking to my phone, and then you watch me and you see me, and that's great. So I feel like I keep saying I will see you next week, but I won't see you at all. So that's not very helpful. I should start like, you will see me next week, but that sounds weird too, so I don't know. But yes, I hope you have great stitching. Thank you again for all the likes, comments. You know, if you like what you see, thumbs ups are great. If you have any questions or comments, feel free to leave them. I love my comments. I'm glad to say that both Virpi and Bev got their packages. Actually, that was fun because both their packages apparently arrived on my birthday. I got like messages from both of them. Hi, Bev and Virpi. I hope you enjoy your mail. And so it was kind of fun because it was like, I'm giving stitchy mail to other people on my birthday. That's cool. So yeah, I hope you enjoy your patterns. Please feel free to like and comment if that is your thing. You know, if you didn't like what you saw, you can always dislike that. You know, that tells me something too. And if you like what you see and want to see more of me, there's that lovely subscription button. And yeah, I hope everyone has a lovely week. And I will talk to you next week. Bye!